Hello, you guys. Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. My hair, if you guys are watching the video, I have a brand new camera. So really, I'm just recording this. I wanted to test it out. I wanted to test out the speaker. But I shared a post earlier on Instagram, and this will be launching a little bit later, so it won't be fully 100% relevant. But it was a post where the man was talking about basically like Netflix's biggest competition being sleep, and how so many of these big industries, like take it, be media, the food industry, pharmaceutical industries, like different industries that profit off of our lack of consciousness and lack of really like health and wellness. And so this is going to be weird looking like way up there at the camera. Sorry. But what I wanted to kind of talk about was this is something that I feel like I did not know at the beginning of my health and wellness journey that I wish I would have known. And not even so much wish I would have known, but just been familiar with, or at least had the awareness of. And so I wanted to share it with you guys in case this is something that you have not considered. And let's say you're on your health and wellness journey right now and you're prioritizing your food and you're prioritizing your nutrition and your movement and your water and like those basic things that are super important to your overall health and well-being. Like, obviously, I feel like at this point we know the food you're eating matters, moving your body matters, consuming water matters. Like most of us have those basics down. And if it's helpful, like I would love to do a full episode about food, water, nutrition, and movement. But for this episode, I'm going to talk about a couple other things that I don't think sometimes people are considering when it comes to their overall health and well-being. And so what I mean by this is, let's just say, for example, you're a female carrying a bunch of extra body weight, okay? And you initially think like, oh my God, I need to go on a diet. I'm carrying all this weight. What can I do? I need to shift my nutrition. I need to shift and start moving my body all the time, all the things, right? And those two things can be great things, like adding more water, getting right on your nutrition, like eating whole foods, being mindful of the foods you're consuming, and then moving your body. Like those can be really awesome things if you're in a position where you need weight loss. However, what I have seen for a lot of women when I used to coach women strictly in nutrition is I would give them these meal plans and I would give them these diet plans, and like the food is perfect, like the calorie content, all of it is perfect. There should be no issue for why you're not losing weight. If they're not following it, it's one thing. But what I have found sometimes is that there's people who will follow it and they're like really mindful with their food. And this is even an example for me. Like I've been pretty mindful with my food, and I'll notice, like I eat healthy, but I will notice physically in my body that sometimes I'm way more inflamed than others. Sometimes I feel like I'm carrying extra body weight when nothing else has shifted in my life. Like food consumption, exercise consumption, nothing has shifted. So what is it? And what I've noticed for a lot of these clients now that I've like worked with more and more people, and I've actually kind of started to notice this where I'm like, I would love to see a study done on this, but the people who struggle with way more weight. So I'm not talking like a 5 to 10 pound overweight thing. I'm talking like you're struggling with like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds overweight. What I have noticed, and I would love to know if this is across the board a thing, but I feel like for a lot of those people, not only is food something that like brings them a boost of happiness sometimes, and so sometimes food is like a crutch, the same way someone might use, I don't know, a drug, or could use a shopping addiction, or could have a sex addiction. Like people can have these different addictions, like, and really what I see them as is distractions or numbers to take you out of feeling what you're really feeling or having to navigate what you're really going through. And so what I've kind of started noticing about a lot of people who are carrying a lot of extra weight recently, especially with women, is that they oftentimes, I don't know why this makes me want to cry, they were children who had to either keep it together for their family, or their parents weren't super healthy in terms of navigating emotions. And so they kind of became the like holder. So whether they held the family together or they tried to make everybody else happy in order to like keep the peace, and so they held on to body weight. If they still to this day are the person who everybody comes to with their problems and they don't have a healthy way of letting that go. So think like the empath who is there for everybody else, but like doesn't know how to be there for themselves. Or A lot of times I find it's like starts in childhood though. Like there's stuff going on in childhood that's making you feel like you need to hold the emotions and hold space for all of these other people, and you're too little to even know how to navigate that. And so these emotions can be too big for you to have to hold on to. So whether that be like trauma from that, like I've just noticed that a lot recently. Like a lot of the people who I've worked with who are holding a bunch of extra body weight typically are the holders and like holding everything together for everybody else. And then I've also noticed, obviously this can be a different thing too, where you may be struggling with your weight, and it could be like trauma from childhood, for example, and the only way that you felt happiness or connection, or let's say it was like the way you felt connected to your family or your friends or whoever, could have been through food. And so because of that, you have this like relationship with food still, where you do lean to food to like bring you these boosts of chemicals and happiness and all the things. And like there's so many different reasons that people could be struggling with their weight, but I wanted to specifically talk about the people who are doing it right with fitness and nutrition. Like they're being mindful, they're moving their bodies, they're eating well, and the weight is not coming off. And so I wanted to talk about a couple different reasons that could be happening and what you could try to start doing and shifting, because I've already witnessed this in now, when was it, March? I went to like my first breathwork session, like intense breathwork guided session at Awaken. And then to now, what I'm seeing with even some people in my circle who have like come to our women's circles, come to these events, and like even come to events like Awaken, or people in my life that I have met because of that, the weight that is falling off of their bodies, and food and movement hasn't changed. Okay. So I don't really know 100% where I'm going to go with this. I feel like this is normal. If you guys are listening to me, you know this. I kind of like go all over the place all the time. But some things I wanted to first talk about. Okay, so let's just, for example, those types of people that I talked about earlier who are holding it for other people, what I have found is if you're the holder, right? Like if that's you and you're the person who holds everything in for everybody else, you keep the peace for your whole family, like it's always on you and you kind of take that on for people, or you're like the peacekeeper. What I found is for those people specifically, when they start either creating space for themselves to start doing their own healing work, or like releasing some of that that they were holding on for other people. So whether that be in breath work, in meditation, in moving like with intention. So not just moving like I got to work out to like burn calories, but you're moving on purpose. So take that be yoga, walking, where you're breathing purposefully and intentionally to release. So you could be like thinking things, you're like, oh, okay, I'm ready to let this go now. And it could be like as you're stretching through yoga, as you're walking, whatever it is. If you start to set an intention of being ready to let it go and ready to release it through movement, that can make a big difference and a shift. But also like through whether that's meditation, stillness, energy healers, Reiki healers, like different sessions that you could start going to get to the bottom of what you are holding and where. Because our body, if you guys haven't read the body, oh my gosh, if you haven't read The Body Keeps the Score, read that book if you're someone who is a holder, okay? And that could really help you start to see like, where are you holding on to things that you might not even know. And I'll give you an example for me. So like I went to a massage once. This is before I knew much about Reiki and energy healing, okay? And I went to this massage and she was working behind my knees. I was like, no, you can't touch there. Like I'd never let massage therapists touch there because it was so tender. And she was like, what do you mean I can't touch there? And I was like, no, it's just so tender. It hurts so much. And she was like, okay, let me just like see. So she started playing with it and she was really gentle. And then she went, and she said 3 different names, okay? And I went, what do you mean? And it ended up being one of my ex-boyfriends. And she was like, and then I was like, oh, I have an ex-boyfriend named this. And she was like, that's it. She was like, that is who's in your knees right now. Like you're storing all of that pain and all of that stuff that happened to you in that relationship that you were strong and like didn't need to deal with because you were all good and you were fine. No, I wasn't fine. I just didn't cope with the emotions. And so I put them like, oh, we're not going to deal with that right now. So let's store them away. And so they got stored in my knees. And so she was the first person who I ever had seen who was like, there's something going on here. You're storing this emotion, trauma here in your knees. And then that was really helpful for me because it kind of made me go like, wait, what? Like you can store emotion in your body? I didn't know this, right? And then on my journey, I ended up finding out like, no, you definitely can store emotions in your body. And it was, I think I listened or like yeah, I watched the movie like Emotion 2.0. I feel like that's what it's called. And it talks about how energy is just, emotions are just energy in motion. And so if they don't move out, meaning like you don't feel them and let them move through you, they get stored. And when they get stored, this is what can lead to dis-ease within the body. And a lot of the diseases we're seeing, what I'm realizing is like it's emotional. It's the inability to process our emotions. It's the inability to feel, process, and have healthy ways of moving those through us and releasing them. And so, anyways, so in this sense of like how this can relate to you on your health and wellness journey is if there are a bunch of stored, unprocessed emotions within your body, that can show up as physical weight. And that's the point that I want to really make is like, has there been things in your life, and you could be like me where I was like, my childhood was perfect, I'm fine, like everything's good, nothing bad has ever happened to me, nothing bad has ever happened to me, my childhood was so good, I'm so lucky that nothing bad happened. And as I've done the body work and I started seeing someone for this, she was like, no, you're storing sexual trauma here, you have this, you have that, whatever. And I went, okay, weird, because I always had this fear of like, I think I knew something happened to me when I was younger, but I like consciously didn't know. Does this make sense? So like subconsciously, I knew I had a fear of this, like of something happening to me or like an older man taking me or getting abducted. Like I had all these crazy fears as a child. And I used to think they were just illegitimate fears, like just something I saw that made me feel scared. And that's why I was fearful. And what I realized through all this work when she said like, no, you were about 6 years old and this happened. And she didn't give me more than that, but it felt familiar. I was like, I had a feeling, but I just couldn't explain it. And I don't have perfect memory of it. And I've even on my plant medicine journey and even in breathwork asked to be shown, and they won't show me. And when I asked in my plant medicine, I talked about this in one of those episodes, that when I asked, I was like, okay, show me. I just had flashlights in my eyes. Like it would not show me. And so I'm like, okay, if I don't need to know who it is, that's fine. But I've started doing the work to like release it because I store a ton of pain in my hips. And basically like a couple of years ago when I started working with my last personal trainer, he had said, he was like, you're so tightly wound. And I think I've talked about this in an episode too. And I was like, what do you mean? But I was basically this ball of like holding it all together. And it wasn't showing up for me in physical body weight, but it was showing up in pain, like pain in my knees, pain in my feet, pain in my ankles, pain in my hips, pain in my back, like physical pain in my entire body from being holding it all together, doing all the things, having the world on my shoulders of like keeping all the things afloat and like being the mom and having the business and doing the things and like making sure everyone else was taken care of. And I, in that season, you guys, stopped prioritizing working out. I stopped prioritizing nutrition. I would work out here and there, but it wasn't a massive priority for me. And so I put myself on the back burner after really prioritizing myself my whole life. And so it was like 2 or 3 years I had kind of put myself on the back burner, wasn't really prioritizing myself. And so because I wasn't dealing with any of these emotions, and I hadn't really dealt with any of the emotions from my previous relationships and the hurt that it caused, or like pain from friendships, like everything I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like it could be worse. I'm fine. And so I did that for so long. Literally the pain is starting to creep up right now in my leg, and my knee as I'm talking about this, which is just, it shows you like the book, The Body Keeps the Score, and your body remembers. Okay. And this is actually starting to cause like physical pain in my body, but obviously me talking about it is helpful in some way, whether it's healing for me or it's just remembering for me. I don't really know. Anyways, where the hell was I going with that? So in terms of just how, I don't know what I was saying. That overtook me. The pain literally just overtook me. I guess what I was trying to say is it doesn't have to show up in physical body weight to be impacting your physical body, but excess body weight can be a symptom of storing emotions. For me, it was showing up as pain. For a lot of people, this could be showing up like at this point, what is it, like fibromyalgia, like some of those diseases, I'm fully convinced that's emotion. That is stored, trapped emotion and pain that is starting to show up in your physical body because you haven't had a safe place to process it and move through it. And it's going to keep showing up and basically screaming at you until you give it the time of day and the attention it needs to be able to move through it and heal it. So anyway, so mine was showing up as physical pain in my body. Whole body was hurting. And if I believe, like, if I didn't shift the way that I was handling my life, and now when I reflect, this is just coming through to me right now, it's so clear. But basically a bunch of stuff happened in my business back in like April of 2021, March, April 2021. And it made me take a step back from my business. And that like wake up call to not have my business be my number one priority of like, go, 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 go. You have to build, you have to build, you have to build, you have to build, you have to build. When it took me out of it, I realize now that I'm like, honestly, that was probably saving me. And I'm not kidding. I probably would have ended up with a physical illness because of how I was operating in my life and how I was just going and going and going, and all of the pain in my body. Like, I had 2 babies back to back. They were 11 months apart. I nursed them for 3 years. That's a lot on your body altogether. Now you're going to add in the fact that like I'm not really prioritizing nutrition as well as I should. I'm not moving my body. I'm not prioritizing myself. I wasn't reading. I wasn't journaling. I hadn't checked in with myself, with my heart, with anything. I was just basically in full like forward mode, distract mode, really. And there were things in my life that were showing up, but I was so like this, like running forward, that I couldn't even take the time to process them or feel them or deal with them. So anyways, when my business kind of like shit happened and it made me just go like, whoa, this is not my number one priority anymore, I moved to California. Okay. So I was like, I needed a shift. And so we were like, I'm out. I literally booked, I'm pretty sure within 3 days, found the Airbnb, booked tickets. And I was like, we're leaving now. Like, we're going, packed up. I was like, we're moving, we're going. And it was also during like world shutdowns, all the things. And so I was like, we have to move fast because we don't know when the borders are going to close again. So we got up, shifted our life, moved to the beach. And when we moved to the beach, I had just right before that started prioritizing my fitness again. And so when I got down there, that was like my number one priority. It was being outside in nature, being with my kids, and prioritizing fitness. And those 3 things took me back into connecting with myself, with my body, with like prioritizing my health, with prioritizing the things that matter. And I got way off track, and I promise you I will get to the things that you can do to help prioritize your health and wellness now that are not fitness and nutrition. But I needed to start prioritizing fitness again for me because I'm healthiest. I feel my best. I'm like totally myself when I'm prioritizing my fitness. Anyways, the point is that like wake up call. And this is what I want you guys to remember too, is sometimes things will happen to put you on your ass and like disrupt the way things are going. And it's for your benefit. It is for your own good. It is literally sometimes to save your life. And if you start seeing it like that, like, yes, was it inconvenient? Were the things that were going on not comfy and not great? And I didn't really love going through it. And it caused a bunch of other emotions in me. Yes. However, when I reflect back, I'm like, the path I was on, I was not living my healthiest life, mostly because even though I was still eating well and like moving, I was in a very, very high stress state, functioning at a really high stress level. And that leads to burnout. So like, especially as a female, like you can do that and do that for a season. I'm not a hater on hustle culture, like when that was a thing, because I think there's always going to be seasons of hustle that are essential to you doing anything in your life. Like there's going to be seasons where you need to be all in, go, 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 and fully like focused with a one-track mind to accomplish something. That's important, and it's meant to operate in seasons. Even the hormones that get released in your body during that is meant to be released in seasons. However, if you start functioning like that all of the time, that's going to be an issue, and it's going to create a problem in your body. So reflecting back, honestly, I feel like that whole hiccup in my life and that shift and like moving to California and having all of those changes probably helped me not get a physical disease or ailment. And if you have been someone who has pushed through and you're still pushing through, I'm just going to tell you, like, something's going to happen to wake you up. So whether it be a disease, whether it be a relationship ending, whether it be being fired, like something big will typically end up happening in your life. And it's on purpose to either create space for you to like realize what's going on, or to try to force you to go inward, or to wake you up to like, hey, you can't keep operating like this. You can't keep functioning like this. And I see it as like, sometimes we get these little like reminder knocks, like it'll be like a little like tap, and then it gets louder. It's like it's the same way if your alarm system, I don't know, it would be like one alarm or like a little doot. I don't know if your guys' fridges do this, but it's like gives me a little beep, or like the microwave. And then it starts beeping more and then it goes faster. It's like it's going to keep getting louder. My leg is going numb. I'm sitting on my floor, by the way. I will get a chair and a desk one day. But for right now, I'm sitting on my floor. Anyways, you're going to have something happen to wake you up, to bring you out of this like state that you're in that you don't even realize you're contributing to like your own demise and like the disease you're starting to create in your body. And so if you start thinking of it like this, especially if you're someone who is on pills right now or believes you have an illness or a disease, I just want to challenge your beliefs for a minute around that, because I fully believe you can heal yourself. Yes, you may need like a resource and a doctor and all the things, and you might not be ready to like get rid of all of that right altogether. However, most of the things we're seeing and dealing with as a society are nutrition and movement are two majors, that if those were prioritized and we were eating really healthy whole food and moving our bodies, heart disease, diabetes, all these like things would go away. And then if you add in the fact of like, there's so many people now that are dealing with arthritis, which can be food caused, but honestly, it could be emotion caused too. Anything to do with the body. Okay. So if you're experiencing pain, anytime people are like, oh, I need a hip surgery, for example, I'm like, even now I'm like, do you? Or what are you storing there that you haven't looked at, or you had no awareness that you should even look at? Because I'm like, if we went there first and started unpacking the stuff that we've stored within our body and releasing it in a safe place, whether that be you have to go do psychedelics and plant medicine, or you do breathwork sessions in group settings like women's circles or like Awaken, because I love that event. Whatever you do, if you were given those tools first to start processing and moving through, and then held safe in space with like love, you might not need any of that ever at all. And I'm just going to put that out there as a thought in case you're someone who's on medications and believes you need it, like high blood pressure and like all those kinds of medications and stuff. I'm like, this is all fixable, like all fixable through nutrition, movement, and managing your stress. So with that, okay, I just want you to know that you can be clear and free of all of those things if you want to, and if you're willing to go in and start doing that personal growth work that you need to do. And I don't even like to call it work. It's just like inner healing. It's connectedness. It's connecting back to yourself. When you fully connect with yourself and you allow yourself to feel safe enough to feel and like move through all of the emotions that you've ever felt, like you're creating this safety net to like let it go. You don't have to keep holding it. And so I go back to the person who could be holding all of this physical body weight, and you're like, I'm doing all the things nutrition and fitness wise, I don't know why. I want you to start looking at your stress levels. I want you to start looking at how you're operating every day. Do you take time for yourself, or do you not have time for yourself? Like, make it a non-negotiable, because the physical weight is one thing and it can be really uncomfortable, but we know that can fester into something else and like more disease. So start prioritizing time for you before you have no choice, and now you're dealt with a disease that you have to now face, and it gets a little crazier. So like, what can you do to start prioritizing time for you? And then I would also say, like, what are you consuming? So once you've checked in with yourself and been like, what emotions am I not dealing with? What stress do I have in my life? Where can I try to cut these things or like eliminate them? And if you can't eliminate them, how can you bring more calm and peace into your life? For me, I have 2 little babies. Like, they're not little babies anymore, but like life is chaotic, right? I'm busy. Like, I have shit going on all day long. I have had to carve out, and sleep is very, very important. So obviously prioritize your sleep, but I've noticed that sometimes I'm just scrolling and I'm like, I'm wasting all this time scrolling when I could have been doing something. And I don't know what that is, because I never used to do that. So I'm like, I think that's a distraction from myself, maybe. And I don't know why that's showing up. It's only shown up over the last couple of weeks, and I can feel myself going through something shift wise. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm afraid to like go deeper, or if it's like numbing out the fact that like I would love to have a partner and I don't. Like, I don't really know, and I'm not going to go there. I'm trying to figure this out for myself. But I've noticed I'm scrolling more, like mindlessly scrolling. And so Anyways, so I've had to be like, stop it. Like, we're reading a book. Get on your mat right now and go do some yoga, like movement. And this is where I want you to understand, like, this isn't just like first thought human nature for me. This is, I don't even know what that is. What's the right word for that? Anyways, for me, like, I have to physically make myself go do these things. I don't just wake up wanting to do that. I don't just wake up wanting to do my gratitudes, really. And it's hard with 2 little kids. Like, it's not easy to do. So to sit up and do my visualization, my meditation, all the gratitudes, all the things I would love to do in my morning routine, typically it's not realistic. And so sometimes that means I get up earlier to make time for that. Typically, if I try to do that, my kids just wake up when I wake up anyways. They sense the second my eyes are open, I'm out of the bed. And then I've had to do at nighttime now when, like, I put them to sleep. Like, this is not easy. I put them to sleep and they make me lay between them until they fall asleep. And then I'm ready to fall asleep myself. But sometimes I'm like, okay, you're going to lay here and end up scrolling, or you can get your butt out of bed even though you don't feel like it and, like, go do yoga or go sit in the other room and read a book for 15 minutes. Like, do something for you so that you don't wake up the next day depleted, because this is going to accumulate over time. If you keep not doing things for yourself, I can promise you on the other end of it, it accumulates, and then you, like, don't know who you are. You don't know where you went. You're like, who am I? What do I think? What do I feel? And you're so overwhelmed and you don't really know what's going on. And you can't even connect to, like, what do you want? What's going on with you? And how do you feel? You don't even know because you haven't connected with yourself in so long. So, like, take the time, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, to connect with yourself each day. And then on top of that, the next thing that you could look at is toxins. Like, where are you consuming toxins that you could not be? So this could be personal care, nutrition products. Like, what are you putting on your skin? What are you ingesting in your body? Like, think of your water. Is it filtered? Like, in Canada, our water used to be really good. I really believe that. Now, it's just not as good anymore. So it's like, you do need a filtration system. You need to try to get those toxins out, whether that's, like, through your water or the products you're putting on your skin. Like, you need to be mindful of the toxins you're consuming. Your home, like, is there toxins in your home? The laundry detergent you're using, the cleaning products. Like, if you're still using traditional cleaning products, please go throw them all away. You can use freaking vinegar. And I mean, there's some essential oil companies that are really great too. I feel like I've used Young Living before, doTERRA before. I've used this new one. It's called, like, Bare Basics or Branch Basics or something like that. There's a bunch of different companies you can find with clean products that are not going to be harmful to you. Get rid of the toxic, harmful cleaning products. It doesn't, and if you're thinking, like, but they don't kill the germs, or whatever belief you have, I'm just going to let you know that you're a walking, talking microorganism that is full of germs, and you need them for you to be healthy. Okay? So you don't need to kill them all. I'm not telling you to, like, have poop molecules on you. Like, go ahead and clean the toilets, but you don't need to worry about that. Okay? Like, if you're fearful of that, I'm telling you that could be making you sick also, because we don't live in fear. If you live in an energy of guilt, shame, or fear, you're going to end up physically sick. Just letting you know. So, like, you need to find ways to eliminate that from your life. If you're in a constant state of worry, that can also make you sick. That could also make you hold weight. You need to find a way to let go of all of that. But I will say, on the opposite side of that, a lot of the people I see in a constant worry state, sometimes they're actually really skinny. And that could be because you're just like that all the time. Okay, the other side of this, I would say, is, so I've already said stillness. I've said water, nutrition, movement, obviously, if that's walking, yoga, the gym, like, whatever you need to do. And then the books you were reading and the media you were consuming. So when I say this, who are you following on social media? Do they make you feel like shit? Because I know in the, years where, like, stuff was a little crazy in life, I was following a lot of accounts that were giving me lots of good information and lots of updates on the world, but it was negative and fear-based. And I had to go, okay, I'm not one to consume the news or media, because at this point in my life, I fully feel like the news is just literally fear-based reality TV. Like, it's curated, a lot of it. They've even been caught faking different things in the world to make it look worse for TV, to create fear amongst everyone who's watching. Like, do you guys remember the freaking death count? Oh yeah, that's really positive. That's going to make people feel real good, real safe. Not going to put you in a fear state at all. Anyways, I digress. The point is, be mindful of the media you are consuming. because it could be making you healthy or not healthy. The people you're following on social media could be making you healthy, not healthy. It could be contributing to your wellness in so many different ways. So be mindful of this. If the people you're following, I've had to unfollow. There's lots of stuff that like looks really pretty. Like their houses are Pinterest perfect. Their clothes are always perfect. Like to me though, that's putting you in an energy of need, like thinking that you want and need all these things outside of you. And it's making you feel like you need to desire all of this stuff. Like if I have all these things, then I'll be happy. If I have these perfect clothes, if I have this kind of kitchen, if I have this kind of house, like how many people feel inadequate because your house doesn't look like the freaking beauty blogger or whoever? I don't even know anymore. Like, what are they called? You guys know. But remember, Instagram used to be strictly all that. Like, that's all you would see was like these pretty perfect curated people with their pretty perfect houses and their pretty perfect kids and their pretty perfect pages and their like to know it's that like need to buy all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with those things, right? Like I still sometimes enjoy that, but I'm just saying be mindful of who you're following, because if it's a constant feeling like you need to be buying all of this stuff outside of you, like especially when it comes to material stuff, right? Like I'm all for, I will promote till the day I die books you should read, or like castor oil or different like supplements I'm using, whatever. But even that, I'm like I don't want to push it to make you feel like you need it. Like they're just things that you could add into your life to improve your life, but you don't actually need anything. You don't need anything outside of you to be living your most healthy, fulfilled life. Like you can do that inside as an inside job, except you need food. Obviously, we need food to live. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. Be really mindful of this, because the media and the people that you are consuming could be impacting your health in a positive or negative way. So when you get off social media, how do you feel? A lot of us, if you scroll for too long, you're not going to feel good. But I'm like, my feed is full of humor, wellness quotes, things about like masculine and feminine energies and healing, relationships, like things that make me feel more, I don't know what the right word would be. Like I feel smarter, or I don't even know. Like it promotes self-reflection and self-awareness. And I feel like that's a positive thing. But if you're just following 2,000 accounts of like pretty perfect people, or like Instagram models that their pages are fake, and it's making you feel like shit and like you're not good enough and you need a fake ass, fake tits, fake face, fake everything, like unfollow them, you guys. You shouldn't be leaving or like looking at things that make you feel inadequate as who you are as a person. And I'm all for striving. Like I want the Pinterest perfect house. I'll strive for that. But I don't want it just like in my feed all day long, making me feel like everything I have is not good enough, you know? So does that make sense? So just be mindful of that. And then I would also say, if you were someone who was deep into the conspiracy stuff and you're still in that, just be mindful of the energy that it's putting you in. Because what I had to realize is everything is kind of, if you want to simplify it, an energy of love or fear. And well, I don't know how deep you've gone, but like if we want to call this the matrix and what's feeding the energy, the same energy that feeds what's on the news, right? Which is fear. And people being like, oh my God, this is happening, and creating like chaos. That energy is the same on the other side of some of these conspiracy pages and the things that they're putting out. It's the same energy. And I had to go, nope. Because if I'm not going to watch the news, because I know that the state it puts me in and how unhealthy that is and how negative it is and how not helpful it is for your growth as a person. Like if I know that, then why would I go consume all this other stuff that's putting me in the same state? And I had to realize like I could know all the things happening in the world. Having all the information didn't make me any more prepared. I used to think that like if I know all the things, then I'll be more prepared. When I was like, no, the only thing I can do here is become the best possible version of me. And that's going to make me the most equipped for whatever happens on this planet. So just be mindful and like clear out some of the shit. Okay. The next thing I wanted to say was getting in nature. This can change your life. If I think I heard this somewhere, I might butcher it, but like walking forward basically takes your body out of the ability to feel fear. So if you're moving forward, it like takes your body out of anxiety, fear, all of these like lower energy or lower vibrational emotions. It takes you out of them, which I was like, that is so powerful. Like that's huge. That's amazing to be able to know that like just by walking and getting in the state of walking, it can take you out of all of that other stuff. I was like, that's huge. That's powerful. Nature also, you guys, there's medicine in nature. Like putting your feet in the sand literally can heal and help you not only adjust like your circadian rhythm to where you just landed or are. Let's say you like go somewhere new and it's a 10-hour time difference, whatever. You put your feet in the sand at the beach, your body is going to start shifting to the time zone that you're on. So I'm like, how magic is that? It's kind of the same thing as like when you're nursing and all of the magic that's in a breast milk that you can't see, right? But we know there's like all these other properties in the breast milk. It's kind of like that, like with nature, but you are like the baby. Does this make sense? Like I've just started feeling like, I don't know, this is totally random on offside too, but like Mother Earth, I'm like, I fully believe now that I'm like, we were grown within our mother in her womb space, right? And then we're birthed into this bigger womb space, which is Mother Earth. And we are held and we are carried and we are nurtured for, we are fed, we are cared for from the earth. And so if you start seeing it like that, like, wow, this big, beautiful world is just my Mother Earth. Like, see how good does that feel? And then if you're like, even the grass is like nurturing my feet or like nourishing my feet. The water is nourishing my skin if you were to go in the ocean or the lake. If you see the trees and you touch them and you're like, I can like pick up energy and like microorganisms from this that are healthy for my biodiversity of my, not only biodiversity of myself and my body, but like, why do you think kids put sand and dirt in their mouth? They're building that, what is it called? Your microbiome. Your gut health is from diversity of nutrients. So it's like being in nature can give you all of those benefits. So like go submerge. What are you guys? Why does this happen to me sometimes where I can't think? Submerge? No, whatever. Go put yourself in nature. Okay. This can be really, really powerful and healthy for your healing. The next thing I want to say is books and people. Do you have really toxic people in your life? You don't have to get rid of them fully, but create space. You deserve to have space to do your healing and feel healthy, and you don't have to take on everyone else's stuff. And something else that I'll say to you is creating an energetic boundary and an energetic bubble. So if you know you're about to go into a situation with a lot of people and you're just learning how to do this and you're an empath and you take on everyone else's emotions, you need to get a practice where you know how to basically like put yourself in an energetic bubble where like things, you can hear them and you can be there for people, but you don't need to absorb them. You don't need to absorb them into your physical body where now they've become your problems and you're holding them and storing them. And that comes back to that weight thing where if that's you and you don't have strong energetic boundaries and bubbles that you're creating, whether you do this through a meditation first or whatever you need to do, where you can like kind of, you engulf yourself in a white light and you put it around yourself and you're in a bubble and it's like, you can have yours. And then also the practice of just saying like awareness attached this is what I do now. Like when I realize that I'm holding an energy of somebody else's and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this. Is this even mine? I ask myself that. And then I'll be like, awareness attached, return to sender. Like just a snap, whatever you need to do, just to bring awareness to the fact that sometimes what you're even feeling and dealing with might not even be yours. And it's not your responsibility to have to move through all that. So sending it back. And then what are you reading? What are you listening to? You might need to get rid of frequency music that's not very helpful for you. And a lot of the typical songs that we hear, the frequencies in them are not good for our bodies. They're not meant to promote healing. They're not meant to promote wellness. So switch the frequency of music you're listening to, like 400 hertz and above, I think. You can do that. Like that's something that you can do. Another thing that you can do is the books and the podcasts. Like if you're someone who really struggles with your mindset and your overall well-being mentally, books and podcasts, start expanding that. And then that's something that you can physically do. But I would say it's carving out time for stillness to be with yourself. Like journal, get to know yourself, truly get to know yourself. And when you do that, I think you'll be shocked at, like this is something I've learned. I'm like, wow, I was so worried about being alone, but I'm like, I actually really like being alone. I really like myself. I really like who I am when I'm alone. And I've had to realize like, holy crap, for so many years, like I think, I don't remember where I was talking about this, but I've been in relationships since I was like 13. So merging myself with another, adjusting myself to fit with another, whether that be the partner, their friends, their family, the people I'm friends with, like not so much that like I wasn't who I am, but I'm like, I take on a lot of people's energy. And so I had to be like, whoa, like there's so much about what I've been surrounding myself with that I haven't even had this space where I was so afraid to be alone. But I'm like, now that I'm alone more, I'm like, oh, I really like this. It feels really good. And so it can help you get rid of that fear of being alone and realize like you really need that. And then you can come back to that and realize like, oh crap, when I'm with these people or do these things, I don't really like how I feel. And it's not that you have to cut them from your life, but it might give you permission to create a little bit more space so that you can prioritize your wellness. So I'm going to end it there because I really just rambled for 40 minutes. I'm sorry. I love you guys. Thanks for listening. But just to round it up, like nutrition, water, make sure that all of that is clean and filtered. If you're already doing that and you're moving your body, look at the energetic body. Like you're probably holding emotion. It could be trauma. It could be emotion. It could be toxic load, toxic people, toxic products, toxic mold in a house, right? Like be mindful of that too. Like if you've tried everything and your home could potentially have toxins in it, you could be getting physically sick from that also. So basically, I don't even know what I'm going to title this episode, but just really being mindful of what you're consuming, what you're allowing into your energetic field, and knowing that your body weight and your physical body is more than just food and exercise. And if you're treating your body with the food and the exercise out of like a punishment state, that's shame, that's guilt. It's really low vibe energy. It's low vibrational frequency, and your body feels that. So even just the simplest shift of, wow, I'm so excited to eat this food to allow it to nourish my body. When I'm about to move, like, I'm so grateful I can move my body. This feels so good. Like, thank you, body, for allowing me to do this. And thank you for letting me do these exercises. If you can shift that into more of a more grateful state, it's a higher vibrational frequency. It's better for you, even if you were to do less. So just keep that in mind. And if you need support, I'll try to find some resources that can be helpful. But I would say, like, give yourself permission to start caring for you before it's too late and you're dealing with something more serious like a disease. So anytime, your body is going to start speaking to you if you're not paying attention and you're not caring for it. So start caring for your body in all ways that is not just fitness and nutrition, and know that all of those other things can be really, really helpful for your overall well-being. And I think I kind of mentioned this, but I've literally watched people's weight start melting off when they started taking care of themselves, even just through the methods of breath work, stillness, meditation, journaling. Like those exercises that are not physical body movement can also allow you to start releasing. So thank you so much for listening. That was so random, but I just felt like there were things that needed to be said. So see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.